and welcome to The Rest is Football with Alan Shearer, Micah Richards and me, Gary Lineker. We're reaching the business end of this season's FA Cup and now know the lineup for the quarter-finals. Fulham will play Crystal Palace. Preston face Aston Villa. It's Bournemouth against Manchester City and Brighton against either Forest or Ipswich. We're recording this first thing on Monday. I know it's not been with you normally for perhaps your commute this morning, but we were all at the Manchester United game and got home really late, so we've had to do it first thing on Monday morning. It's a pretty open quarter-final draw. We'll come on to that and who we think might be the favourites in more detail. First, though, let's get into the action from the fifth round, and we'll start at that game at Old Trafford. And, well, let's be honest, apart from the drama of a penalty shootout, the quality levels of the football on display in that match, it wasn't great, was it?
It wasn't a great game, and thankfully we had something to shout about, or the neutral did anyway, just before half-time when Fulham scored. But the standard of football in the first half from both teams was really, really poor. So many misplaced passes. Really, I thought the atmosphere was flat. I know the Fulham fans tried, but yeah, it wasn't a great game. But I think Fulham will say that they deserve to get through to the quarterfinals, because going to Old Trafford and stopping Man United as they did. I mean, other than Bruno Fernandes, the quality of the finish for large parts of that game, Man United offered very, very little.
Yep, agreed. It was frustrating, wasn't it? But I thought Man United defending better. I thought they nullified Fulham's threat. Of course, we're speaking about a Man United that is low on confidence at this moment in time. So you're sort of looking for the positives. We know Man United this season have not been great. So you're looking for those little wins. So defensively, I thought they was better. Going forward, they were atrocious.
Dreadful, yeah.
They were atrocious. I think tactically brought in Eriksen, really helped out Dalot on that left-hand side, probably to nullify the threat of Adama Traore. But the problem that Man United have, and we've talked about them so many times, is because of Man United, they want to attack, but they don't press. So then when they press with, say, the three up front, if a team is playing three in midfield, it's 3 versus 2. So if you beat that first line of press, in midfield, you're 2 versus 3, so you can't get near the ball. Then your wing backs drop so deep, so then you can't put a press on again in the middle of the pitch. Mid-block is a new terminology. I know the old school don't like the new terminology. But in the mid-block, they can't press. And then it's almost just a 5-2-3. And then what happens, because you've got no pace up front with Højlund and Xerxes, when you're trying to get out, you're playing these hopeful balls down the wing. And he was trying so hard. He was working so hard, Højlund, yesterday. But he's just not got that extra bit of pace. And as soon as Garnacho came on, it opened up. Of course, the game's always going to open up in the second half, but they just had that threat. And it's bleak, isn't it, for Man United at this moment in time? You're looking for ways and how they can improve. We talked about the system. System's not helping them. But yeah, Alan's completely right. The only one who's got real quality or showed real quality in the game for Man United was Bruno Fernandes.
Possibly with, as you mentioned, with Garnacho when he actually came on, made a bit of a difference. But even Philbert there's just whining in the background. He wasn't happy with the game either. He just wanted his 2 pence worth. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is at present for Manchester United. We've talked about this endlessly, and he won't. He's very stubborn about his system, and but they clearly haven't got the personnel that suits his style of play.
Isn't a coach's job to get the very best out of his players? Yes. I understand he's got a philosophy. I understand the way he wants to play. But his players can't play that way. His players cannot play the way he wants them to. So they're just going to have more pain and more pain and more pain. Until when? We're told that they have to sell before they can bring in terms of the finances, because of the financial fair play rules. The problem is they're just not very good.
What do we mean? What do we mean when we say that they haven't got the players to play the way he wants to play? Because this is not just a professional football club. This is one of obviously the giants of world football. So you've got a coach that comes in there, and he's got players, we say, that are incapable of adopting his style of play. What do we mean? Why are they not capable? They're professionals? They should be fit. Have they got the legs? Have they got the commitment? What is it?
His philosophy is high energy sort of pressing. Man United can't do that. They haven't got the personnel to do that in midfield or up front. You need great high energy to do that. Now, say whatever you want about Højlund and Xerxes, and yes, they'll both give you as good as they've got, and they'll try and they'll work hard, and I don't think there's a problem with their attitude. But they're not blessed with pace, and they're not blessed with high energy. You can go and press and then do it again and constantly do it. And then when you're trying to go in behind, they can't run in behind. They just haven't got the pace to do that. So when you look at the midfield and how you have to go, Man United can't press like that. And I showed it on Match of the Day 2 weeks ago. It was clearly evident again yesterday. And that's why, one of the reasons why they're not struggling. And ultimately, Man United have wasted so much money because they've brought in players who basically are not good enough to play at the highest level in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think Al's pretty much nailed it. I'll talk more about personnel. So if you've got three at the back, which you've got Maguire, De Ligt, and say Yoro, who started the game yesterday, that works. That's fine, because it'd work even better if you're dominating the ball, really, just because it allows the team to push further up the pitch. So then once you've got your three at the back, so if you watch someone like Inter Milan play, they do it like perfectly with the balance of the team. But the difference they have is someone like a Di Marco, who's left-footed wing-back, and his first thought, or his, I would say, best asset is crossing the ball. So when you get into them wide areas, it's natural to him to deliver a good ball, and everyone knows where they run. Mazraoui, he's a good player, can play fullback, can play centre-half. He's even played midfield number 10 for Man United. But I would say he's better defending than attacking. And he's only filling in, so I'm not picking on him per se. So when he's playing wing-back and he gets into an area where he's got to deliver a good ball, he's not in the usual positions he would be to affect a game normally. Playing wing-back and playing full-back is completely two different things. When you are playing full-back, you get the ball, you play the ball to your winger. If you're playing a 4-3-3, then you go on the overlap, then allows the midfielder, who's ever had, whether they want to make a run or if they want to get on the ball and cross. You're almost playing like a decoy. When you're a wing-back receiving the ball, the onus is on you to dribble past people or deliver a great ball. You had Dalot, who's filling in on left wing-back. He did really well with a cross for Fernandes, but he's left-footed playing wing-back, and all his attributes, his energy, are used on the wrong areas of the field. Then you've got Fernandes in midfield, and we all know Fernandes is a number 10. He can make something happen, although he got his goal. And Alan's exactly right. Energy, he's got energy, but he presses sort of by himself. If you're going to play in that two in midfield, you need to have patience about when to go. And because he's so frustrated, he's going by himself. And then Alan's right. Up front, you need someone who's going to run in behind. If you look at the way Sporting played with Gyökeres, they pressed really high. So there's their energy that Alan's talking about. But they also had someone who could run in behind. So for the system, for them, it worked really well. And at this moment, you've got players playing in positions that are not familiar to them. So that everything takes twice as long to do. And everything they do just looks really basic because they're not used to the positions they've been put in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense, Micah. So you explained it really well. What's the difference for you when you've played either wing back or full back? What do you prefer?
I couldn't. So I could dribble, but but I couldn't dribble past somebody. I would dribble up to a certain point, play it into David Silva, he'd get on the half turn, I'd make a run in behind. In a wing back, you're providing the width. So because they're playing with 2 number 10s, often on transition, you'll see 2 number 10s going wide, and that's the perfect scenario. The chance to go wide and they'd provide the width. If they are in that number 10 position and you're wing backer, you have to provide the width. You might have a midfielder in front of you, then you have a defender. So you have to be really good at dribbling the ball to make something happen on that wingers, where when you're playing fullback, you're almost just like a decoy. You're providing width for someone who's better on the ball to get on the ball in key areas to make the difference. I couldn't do that. I had pace and strength, but I couldn't beat a man. It's two different characteristics. It's weird to see how they keep playing the same way. And surely you're looking at the bench yesterday, there's a few youngsters. There must be some players in the academy at Man United that can play this system. He's playing players because of their names, but they can't play in those positions. It's weird that constantly they keep making the same decisions, but expecting a different outcome.
I'd love to know his Ruben Amorim personal thoughts, because there's no way that job description could have been sold to him like it is now, in terms of they've got no money, they're as bad as they are. I mean, he must have, and I've said it before, he must have gone into the football club, and over the weeks that have gone by, he must be thinking, wow, the state of the football club, both on and off the pitch, what on earth have I done here? He must be thinking that.
I absolutely don't doubt that. I mean, he kind of talks very openly, doesn't he? His press conferences, he answers any question, but you can see that he's in turmoil.
We're saying that though, but if you say Man United have got no money in the summer, and you've got players who under Ten Hag were struggling, you've got a way, and I'll throw this one to you, Alan, because you've been a manager. Would you persist on playing the same way, or what would you do in this situation? Because he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, that sort of thing.
That's what I'm saying about, like, I get that he wants to play a certain way, and I understand it, and it's been successful for him in his young coaching career. But you also have to get the best out of your players, and he isn't at the minute, because his players can't do what he wants them to do. I mean, it's blatantly obvious that, and I do sometimes think that they're confused. I really do. And if that's the best showing, and I'm not saying that they don't care, I'm not saying that there's a lack of effort, I'm just saying, is that the best he can get them to play, like that we saw yesterday and that we saw against Everton? I know they've had a couple of decent results, Everton away when they were 2 down, Ipswich at home when they were down to 10 men. They showed good character, but is that the best you can get out of that squad? Maybe it is, but maybe I'm missing something. But it's a hard watch, it really is. And I'm not a Man United fan, and I know that they turn up in their thousands and support them all over the world. But that is it must be a hard watch for me. So there's no doubt it is for them.
Yeah, there's no question the fans they're suffering at the moment, particularly I suppose when they've been spoilt with so much success over such a long period of time. We should perhaps remember that Fulham won the game.
Yeah.
And they're having a really good season.
They are having a great season. Marco Silva, what a job he's doing there.
Amazing job. Really, I remember I got a load of stick, because I remember on Twitter when he got fired, didn't he, really quite quickly by Watford after their first dip in form. And I just aired my views that I thought it was way too early, and I thought he was a really good coach, and I got absolutely pasted by the Watford fans. You have no idea. He's not this and he's not. I mean, look at it now. But he's done really well.
Put a good squad together, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of journeyman players. We mentioned it last night on the show on BBC One. He's got the best out of a lot of players that have been around the block a little bit, played at a few different clubs, some younger, some older, but he seems to have brought out the best in them, and and improve them, which is not easy to do with seasoned players.
No, he's done really well. I think they've got the best chance of more points than they've ever had in the Premier League, obviously finishing higher than they have done. They're in the quarterfinals. Last time they were in the FA Cup final, I think it was 1975.
Never won silverware.
No, it's just
major silverware.
They can start thinking, wow. I mean, what an unbelievable season it could turn out to be for them. And I think that has to be a real positive, because I've seen them play a lot better than they played yesterday, so they can do better than what they did yesterday. Yet I know they had to go to penalties, and Bert Leno was 2 very good saves in the penalties. But that has to be a positive as well. Without playing great football, they actually get through and they're in the quarterfinal.
Did anyone catch your eye, Alan, yesterday?
I thought Calvin Bassey was very good at
I thought he was going to give him
centre half
man of the match yesterday.
The problem is with man of the match, you've got you've got to say it 5 minutes before the end. Yeah. So I'm thinking, right, what do I do? And I've got to give it before the penalties. So it's like, I know. Then I just thought, Bruno's got Man United back into the game with the one sort of piece of quality that they needed. It was him that dragged them in, and him that was playing all these probing passes. But if I could have waited until after the penalties, then yeah, it might have gone to Leno, and it perhaps should have gone to Calvin Bassey, who I thought was absolutely superb at centre half.
I wonder if the players are bothered about who wins man of the match.
Mind you,
100% we are bothered. I had some absolute stormers in my time. And because Aguero got a tap in, he'd get the man of the match. It was a disgrace.
It's all about who scores the goals, Mike. It's a goal-scoring game.
Absolute disgrace. You strikers, it's horrible. Horrible.
I send my apologies to Calvin Bassey then. He should have got man of the match. There you go.
He definitely should have got man of the match. He was like an absolute colossus at the back.
Quite odd that co-commentators have become the person that decides the man of the match.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know about you, Alan. When I played, it was generally the sponsors decided, and it would be an excuse to get one of the players up into their sponsor's box at the end of the game, where you'd accept the award, and basically, and most of the people waiting at the end of the game to find out who's man of the match, and then they'd say, "Oh, Lineker, you're man of the match," and you'd go, "Oh no, I've got to go and spend 20 minutes with you." The last thing, all you want to do is go and perhaps see your family or have a couple of drinks in the bar, and as it used to be. I doubt they do that anymore. Do players' lounges exist anymore, Micah?
Oh, they did when I was there. There wasn't like a little...
Because I can't imagine players now going up to through the ground, round the corridor, going to a bar, and you see your family in there, and you're all having a drink. Because that's how it used to be. The penalty shootout, though, they're always exciting. I mean, at least that's the one good thing. I mean, we've argued many times that we think get rid of extra time.
Just go to it. Yeah.
Just go to it's just so much, makes so much sense, particularly the amount of football teams are playing now, the amount of injuries we're getting. Just play 90 minutes and then settle it on penalties. Because once it does go to extra time, I think, the vast majority of us sitting at home watching the television, or even sitting in the ground, I think if it was as bad as it was last night, you're just thinking, come on, penalty shootout, a bit of excitement. And it always adds something, a bit of drama.
I agree. Yeah, straight to penalties. I'm all for that. The first 6 penalties were outstanding. And thinking, here we go. But then, two Man United missed it.
I didn't fancy Lindelof to score. I don't know why. You get a feeling sometimes.
Yeah.
When he stepped up, it wasn't... I don't even know. I can't even say, because I think everyone's going to miss when they're stepping up. They all look nervous. That's why I always ask you the question. I asked you and Wayne did yesterday. Walk up and... What's it like? What's that, Alan?
Yeah, I said you are nervous. That's why.
It's a tense moment.
Yeah.
It's a tense moment. But, Bert Leno made a couple of good saves. Fulham into the quarterfinals of the Cup with the possibility... for the first time in their history of getting some major silverware.
That save, though, I know you're talking about the penalty, the save from Obi, was it in extra time?
Oh, yes, when he stuck his left arm up in the air. It was a good effort from the youngster, actually.
Ridiculous. I was speaking to some goalkeepers, and I was speaking to Peter Schmeichel, where some keepers now are going down too low.
Yes.
So that's giving the forward more options to score because of the net. But he sort of was just in that half squat position where if it would have went low, it would have got there. And if it just needed to tip it over or go higher in the goal, he was there. I thought that was an incredible save.
Yeah, it was. Right, let's move on. Sorry to say this, Alan, to Brighton against Newcastle. I mean, first and foremost, oh my goodness, Anthony Gordon, what have you done?
God.
He must be sitting there after the game all last night. I bet he didn't sleep last night. He's got himself a 3-game ban. He'll miss now the Carabao Cup. Eddie Howe said after the game, we're going to have a look at it, and if we think we can appeal, they will, but I don't think there's a chance in hell. It's a real shame in a moment of utter madness.
Crazy. Yeah, they've got, even if they decide to appeal, they've got no chance of winning it because it was a clear red card. And I mean, I haven't got a clue what he's doing. I mean, it has. I know you get drawn in the moment and the game and all of that, but it has to be in your mind thinking you actually should know that anything stupid, then you're in danger of missing the Carabao Cup final. And I just think, oh my God. I mean, that's a massive blow to Newcastle, a stupid thing to do. And not only did he cost his team yesterday, he could cost his team in the Carabao because he's one of Newcastle's big hitters and he's having a very, very good season, albeit he might not be having a good time at the minute, but he's had a very good season in general. So going to be a massive loss to Newcastle.
I'm not trying to protect him, Al. I'm not, and I agree with you. I think what he said was fair. But you know when he pushed him, it's because the player went down. His head was already sort of down, if you don't understand. So normally, when you've had a decision go against you and you sort of just push someone, but normally you push him in the chest or the arm or whatever. But because his head was slightly down, it looked, I'm not saying it looked worse, because it was bad. It was bad. I'm not trying to protect him. I agree with you,
Mark. It looked
worse. But do you
understand
what I'm saying there?
You're exactly right. He's basically got a bit pissed off and he's just shoved him, but he has dipped a bit and he's shoved him in the head. Yeah. And therefore, it's a strike on the head. And, I think that's definitely what's happened, Mike. He's not deliberately pushed him in the head, I think.
Correct.
But that's at the same time, the whistle had already gone as well. And it was just,
Yeah, I don't want to, I mean, I don't want to go on with the pile-on because he'll get enough criticism and because he'll be hurting more than anyone else. Definitely. And he'll know that he's cost his team massively. But yeah, you can't defend him. It was a stupid thing to do.
What about Gaz when he threw to Alan? When you knew the result?
If I could have sworn live on the BBC, I would have told you to fuck off, honestly.
That was the most dismissive response that I've ever had from you as a question. Yeah, that's it. That's the way it goes. Right, okay. You're not going to go in at length on that. I mean, I had to mention it. I mean, what am I supposed to do?
I was surprised it didn't come back at me, actually, because it was
I couldn't. I'm not that cruel, Alan. I'm not that cruel. I could see you were suffering.
If you could have panned to Micah, I see stupid shoulders, sort of laughing, giggling away, judging by my response, because I was desperately wanting to tell you where to go.
I was trying to be so professional. Honestly, if the camera would have been on me then, obviously, Toon Army and all, I love the Tune, but your reaction, it was priceless.
Micah rang me in the car last night when he was getting on his way after the show, and he said, "Did you know the score when Gaz flashed you?" And I said, you can hear him chuckling away in the background because he knew how angry I was.
I could see it. I mean, I thought, do I ask him a follow-up? Do I, Hal? No.
Well done, Brighton. Great finish from Danny Welbeck, eh?
Oh, it was a really good finish. Right near the end there.
It's a brilliant finish, yeah. They've got some firepower there, Brighton. They'll be a tough team for anyone. Yeah. You couldn't rule them out either of going a lot further.
No, well, you can't rule anyone out now with the draw. Yeah. Because even Bournemouth, who've got Manchester City, it's not quite the Manchester City we've seen. Well, it's nowhere near the Manchester City we've seen of recent seasons. So they'll have a real chance. And apart from Manchester City, obviously, most of the sides are in mid-table. But we're going to take a break now. But I've just been handed by producer Harry a tweet from Calvin Bassey. It's a quote tweet and responding to the Emirates FA Cup feed. It says Calvin Bassey was incredible at both ends of the pitch for Fulham today, with a nice picture and a clap in hand. And he has replied going, "No man of the match," with that emoji. And so, Alan, Calvin's not happy with
I've already said, haven't I, that if it given me till after the penalties, it was either going to be him or Bernd Leno, because he pulled one great save off, and obviously he made the 2 penalty saves in the shootout. So if it could have been after the penalties, then it was going to be either him or Bernd Leno if you'd known that they'd gone through. So apologies, Calvin. I'll give you it next time.
Could your apology be a little bit more sincere, Alan?
Really, I've said it twice or 3 times now.
Yeah.
And I've also said he was brilliant in the game. He was fantastic. Yeah,
He was. Okay, let's take a breather. When we come back, we'll discuss the other FA Cup ties. Welcome back to The Rest is Football with Micah Richards, Alan Shearer and me, Gary Lineker. And we're kind of trawling through the various FA Cup 5th round ties. So Bournemouth, another team that went through on penalties, rather like Fulham did. It was 1-1, wasn't it, after extra time against Wolves. Evan Nilsson put the Cherries ahead after he came back from injury. And then I suppose perhaps the story of that game was Cunha, as he has been so often this season. I mean, an extraordinarily brilliant goal. From long range, and then completely lost his head and managed to get himself a red card.
Before we talk about this, though, guys, how do red cards work in terms of...
They put them up like that in the air, and then a player has to go off the pitch.
I'm talking about for the Premier League. He got a straight red, did he? Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
So how many games does he miss with a straight red? If he got it in the cup.
For violent conduct, 3 games.
And that rolls onto the Premier League?
Yes.
Yeah, whatever games they've got coming up.
I've just brought him in my fantasy football.
So I wonder, he's got his head in hands next to me as well, Harry. He's done the same. But you can take him back out, can't you?
I can't take minus points. I've just put him in. It's a disaster.
I think of a bigger concern would be to the Wolves fans with the league games coming up that they'll have, that he's going to miss 3 league games.
But it doesn't compare. No, come on, Alan. Be honest. It doesn't compare to losing him from his fantasy team, Mike. I mean, let's get your priorities right, Alan. For goodness sake. But he didn't just have one go at him. He had a little kick at him and then he stuck his head in his face.
Yeah, stupid, wasn't it?
I mean, as well, I don't know where you've seen the clips recently. There's a lovely thing where he goes and visits a young lad who's obviously been suffering and does his little celebration for him when he scored, and he's done it in 2 games now. And that's, it's the lovely effect that footballers and football can have for supporters and for people. Yeah,
that was a great story. I saw that myself, and it was really touching. It wasn't it? But gone from hero to villain, haven't you?
Yeah, it's a silly moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, madness.
But it's not just a silly moment. Like, it's obviously the fact that we've been saying for many weeks now, the difference down at the bottom of the Premier League is Cunha. Mm-hmm. And he's out for 3 games now. If you're the other teams, you're looking at that thinking, okay, we could get some points here. It just gives other teams a little bit of confidence because he's been sensational. Every single sort of piece we've done on Wolves has involved Cunha in some sort of way, whether it's a goal or assist.
Or a red card. I mean, he had one, didn't he? Had the kind of the kerfuffle at the end of the game a few weeks ago as well when he... Yeah, so
took the glasses off the...
He's obviously a bit hot-headed.
Mm-hmm.
Gets that red mist.
Yeah.
Do you ever get a red mist playing Alan like that? You've got...
What do you mean? Finish your sentence. What were you going to say? You've got what?
You've got
a bit of red mist.
Have you got a bit of red? A bit of temper there on the pitch. So I saw you kick Neil Lennon in the head.
No, I didn't. He headbutted my foot.
Of course, I forgot that. I should have stated that more clearly.
He told you that himself.
Yeah.
Not really, no.
No, it's a funny one. It's that point of anger that some people will snap.
Well, I've never had a red card, so I've never snapped.
You never had a red card?
Not one.
Yeah, you said that last night.
Yes. Not
Same.
one red card.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gary never got a yellow card, never mind a red card.
No, never tackled anyone else.
No. So it'd be a stupid question for me to ask you if you ever seen the red mist.
No. I missed a few, but no red mist. So Bournemouth march on, having a terrific season, aren't they?
Yeah. They are brilliant. I mean, we mentioned the job that Marco Silva's doing at Fulham and Iraola there at Bournemouth. Wow, fantastic. I mean, what again, it's very similar to Fulham. Could be an unbelievable season for them.
We should also talk about the introduction this weekend of semi-automated offside. And in this particular game, it only took 8 minutes. I think they were looking at handball incidents as well and all that. I mean, they did this forensic search to try and find a reason to disallow a goal, but
I think the technology failed as well, though, didn't it? It wasn't working. So. They had to go back to manually drawing the lines. And
when they say manually drawing the lines, and I mean, obviously they go in there, and I just think people need to know. I don't think they get, like a ruler that you get and then just draw it across. Is that when you say manually? I presume it's at least some kind of technology that they have, isn't it? Because it always sounds like they're drawing the lines, and I always think, no wonder it takes so long. If you've not got a ruler long enough for the whole pitch.
But I think the technology failed them, and it was like over 8 minutes, wasn't it?
8 minutes,
the wait. You could hear the fans and what they thought of it all. So,
well, I said it's supposed to be 30 to 45 seconds quicker, isn't it?
Well, it would have been 8 3/4 minutes without it then.
But it wasn't meant to be. But we can't slaughter everything. I mean, it's going to be good. They got it wrong in this game, which is so frustrating for the fans. But
it's new technology to this country, so it will take probably there'll be a few teething problems, no doubt. But I think with this, in the end, we'll treat it a little bit like goal line technology. Now we trust it. Now whether we should trust it, who knows? Because they can do that thing where the ball is, they can do a picture to support their decision, and I think it will be the same with this. I think goal line technology is pretty damn accurate, and I think with semi-automated, and no doubt at some point it will become automated, we'll have something that will be relatively quick and we can trust. And we'll still whine a bit about one thing, but that would be good, and then we just need to sort out the rest of it. We'll see how we go. Crystal Palace, there's a kind of major story in every game, isn't there? They cruised through against Millwall. I mean, the Millwall goalkeeper got himself sent off. I mean, it was such a reckless challenge on Mateta.
It was an awful challenge.
His ear was almost cut in half. I mean, it was a pretty horrific challenge. I'm not saying he deliberately came out to try and kick his head off. Of course he didn't, because he was going for the ball. But that was so dangerous.
Yeah, it was an awful challenge. It really was. It was terrible, so dangerous. And he's actually been lucky, hasn't he, Mateta, that he got away with it relatively. I mean, I know he's had stitches and he might have had a bit of concussion, but that could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I saw Steve Parish was in the interview at half-time. He didn't want to talk about anything, the game really, but he just said he thought it was the worst challenge he's ever seen. I mean, it reminded me a little bit. You remember the Schumacher challenge on Battiston, was it?
Yeah.
That was the 1982 World Cup, Michael, before you were born, but you may have seen it. If not, it's worth. I mean, that was worse. That one. I mean, that was.
Wasn't far away though, was it?
No, but I think he actually meant to smash straight into the fella, whereas I think this was slightly different.
Horrendous challenge, but
it was. Yeah.
I don't want to pile on the goalkeeper. He's made a mistake. Obviously, they didn't get it right at first, did they? But they'd go back and have a look and see it was a red. It was the right decision in the end, but the lad probably feels terrible because, like you said, I don't think he intended to do that. He just got a little bit excited and ended up being a horrendous challenge.
Yeah.
But we've mentioned Bournemouth, we've mentioned Fulham, and now it's like Palace with the players they've got. I mean, they had a really tough start to the season, but you've got to give the manager real credit because he's assembled some talented players there, and they'll be thinking they've got a right chance as well.
Well, they will. Most certainly will. I suppose the favourites now would have to be Manchester City.
Yeah.
Yes!
Which normally they would be in
City!
any cup competition ever. But for this season, it's been obviously slightly different for them. But as expected, they managed to see off Plymouth at home. Although, Plymouth gave it a go. And so, City would be favourites, but they've got a tough draw at Bournemouth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
Agreed.
Yeah, very difficult game there.
Yeah.
Well, they are improving, though.
They are improving. I mean, they can finish in the Champions League and get FA Cup win. It's still a very good season. Yeah, not the season we all expect from Manchester City, but I mean, it's just about collecting trophies, Try to turn a bad season into a good season for them.
We watched that game together, Micah, didn't we, on Saturday night? And, when Plymouth scored and went 1-0 up, you're thinking, they can't happen, can it?
I was devastated. I was like, it can't happen. Oh, we had a lovely meal, didn't we, on Saturday night at Dakota Hotel.
Yeah.
It was in a nice room, got to watch the football. Tom sorted it all out for us.
We did.
We went down to Wings, didn't we? Had a nice Chinese. Oh, it was fantastic.
It's lovely. You say Man City might be favourites. I'd say Villa won't be far away, just because of their draw that Aston Villa have got. I don't think Villa will be far away from being favourites, if not favourites.
Yeah, a quick shout out to O'Reilly as well, scoring 2. He's come in and has played a couple of games, and obviously it's difficult when the team's not playing that well, to give youngsters an opportunity. But he played really well, got his goals and good confidence for the young lad. So I was happy for him.
A lovely story at the Manchester City game. I know that obviously City comfortably beat Plymouth in the end, although Plymouth did, of course, take the lead through Talovierov. Incredible story, really. Maxi, we'll call him Maxi. His first name's easier. A Ukrainian player. Parents still live in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. Hasn't seen them for over 3 years, and his dad still sends him scouting reports from Ukraine about strikers he's going to be coming up against. So lovely. It must be really difficult for players when their country's going through that kind of stuff, and you've got family in there that you need to worry about, particularly with what's going on.
Well, that was a great moment for him and for everyone on Saturday when he scored and put Plymouth in front.
Yeah, totally echo that as well. We just talked about Plymouth, but what a ride they've been on as well, by the way. To come to Man City. Obviously, the round before was Liverpool. I know Liverpool changed a couple of their players in that game, but it was exciting to watch. They really were. And that's what we like the FA Cup, don't we? Because it throws out these stories. You get to see new players. But yeah, I just like to give them a shout out for how they've played in the tournament, because they give Man City a bit of a run for the money for long parts of the game. 2
more sides to cover that are in the quarterfinals. Villa got through against Cardiff on Friday night, wasn't it? And 2 more goals for Asensio. One of them created by Rashford. They've made a real impact, those 2, since they've joined.
They've got really good attacking options, and he can swap them around like he has done. And yeah, I would perhaps have Villa favourites for this tournament now. If they can get 1 or 2 back from injury defensively wise, then I think they'll be hard to beat in this tournament. They've got I know it's away from home, but their draw against Preston, they can't really complain about that. So, I quite fancy Villa.
Do you think the Champions League could hinder them?
Well, again, I mean, they could have an unbelievable season, one to remember again. I mean, going well in the Champions League, only a couple of points off, 2 or 3 points off 4th and 5th spot. So, and in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. So, yeah, I think with injuries, it has done up to now with the schedule that they've had to. But if they can get 1 or 2 back, and I know they've really impressively added in forward positions, I think in January, which I think has served them well up to now and will do for the rest of the season.
Totally agree. I think Emre is a genius. I think he's tactically, he knows exactly what he wants. I think it was, I don't want to say masterstroke getting Rashford, but bringing in players of say, a caliber above to mix in with what he already had with young players. They all know the jobs, the high energy. You talk about Man United before, Alan, and there's no energy. Villa have that energy. So if you bring in Asensio and Rashford into that, they've got quality. I just think he's doing a brilliant job.
Yeah, he is.
Like you said, it could be a remarkable season.
That just leaves us to mention Preston, who made it through. They played Burnley. Burnley made, I think, about 9 changes. Scott Parker, they're obviously going for promotion.
Yeah.
And even though it was a chance to get into the quarterfinals in a competition that's probably more winnable than it would normally be at this stage. Can you understand that decision? I mean, the thing is, they haven't let a goal in for about, I don't know how many weeks, and then suddenly they shipped 3 against Preston.
Yeah, no, not really. I'm not. I understand that the big thing for them is Premier League, and he doesn't want to risk anything that could hinder that. But no, I think for making that many changes, then they've gone out. So yeah, they don't deserve to go any further. That's the top and bottom of it is. But he thinks it's bigger fish to fry to get into the Premier League, and I get and understand that.
From what I can tell him about the clubs promoted in the last 2 seasons, I'd stick in the Championship.
Yeah.
Oh dear, says deflated from Leicester. Just a quick, before we go, Fulham v Palace, Preston Villa, Bournemouth City, Brighton against Forest or Ipswich. It's very open. You said, Alan, you fancy Villa if you could have to tip someone now.
Yep.
Micah, the ambassador, who are you going to go for?
I would still say Manchester City just because of their experience. I think in a one-off game, they could still produce something special. So I would say Manchester City. I
think they're most likely. Here, how about this one? I'm going to pluck out Bournemouth.
Ooh.
There's one for you. Mm-hmm. I like Iraola. I think he's got something, and they've already beaten City. It's a brave one, but we shall see. Yeah. Before we go, a quick mention for Frank Lampard, who's come in. Coventry just above the relegation zone back then. They're now in the playoff spots. I think that's 8 wins in 9 or something. Well done, Frank.
Yeah, he's doing well. Keep it up. Really, really well.
We knew he would do well. He just needed...
Well, you never know in management. It's not easy, is it?
Time, didn't he? And he's intelligent enough. He knows the game. I just glad to see him doing well. I'm just glad to see him doing well.
Yeah, I think we all are. Okay, that's it for this Monday's episode. Sorry, it's got to you a little bit late, but circumstances. Alan, Champions League, who you got this week?
Oh, I'm doing PSV Arsenal.
Oh, that's a decent game, isn't it?
Yeah, really good game.
Yeah,
big test for
big test for Arsenal without the forwards at present come.
Yeah.
Are you doing CBS, Micah?
We're doing all of them, yeah. So I'll be covering all the games. But our main game would probably be Real Madrid Atletico.
Oh, what a derby that is. Then PSG Liverpool on Wednesday, isn't it, as well? Some great games to look forward to. We will, of course, be discussing those games for our Friday episode, and we'll be back on Wednesday with our customary Q&A. So once again, thanks for your questions that you do send in. We've got lots around the Champions League, so we'll probably endeavour to answer them. But for now, that's it. So goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Have a great week.